I wasn't even recording. Are you serious? Hi guys, welcome back to Charlotte's Web of Books. I am Charlotte. These are my books. Today we'll be discussing what I have read in Q2 of 2025, which is April, May and June. First up, I will be recording this entire thing in my hoodie. Second up, I apologise for the hair. I don't know what it's doing. It's being weird. I'm kind of going through a phase with my fringe at the moment. She hates me. I'm looking a bit like in my Hagrid era. So thanks for staying. As I was saying, I'm going to recap what I read in Q2 of 2025, April, May, June. It is not a lot of books. I think it is 5 books in total, and one of them was like... Sorry, there's a mosquito. One of those books was quite small. It was like not a comic, a graphic novel, if you will. As we have previously established, I am by no means a professional, but I do have a degree in English literature and creative writing, which may make me slightly qualified to have some opinions on books. I have my handy dandy reading journal in which I log all of the books that I read, and I have logged the last... Oh, I'm missing one. I haven't updated this. One moment, please. The first book that I read in the second quarter of 2025 in April was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. For those of you who don't know, Sunrise on the Reaping is a part of the Hunger Games series. The Hunger Games being the series that follows Katniss Everdeen, a young girl who goes into these things called the Hunger Games, which is basically 24 kids fight to the death. There is one victor. They get, a lifetime of riches, and they kind of brought out a squalor, and it's a whole thing. You should read the books if you have not already. And Sunrise on the Reaping is the second prequel book in this series that follows the story of Haymitch Abernathy, who was Katniss's mentor for the Hunger Games. So it goes back to when he was 16 and it runs you through his games, and it is interesting. It is interesting because by the time we get to Haymitch's story, there's been it's the 50th Hunger Games. There have been 49 other ones. So things are crazy. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but obviously we know how the Hunger Games works. We know he gets raped. We know he obviously survives because he's in the original trilogy. So that's not really a spoiler. But we get to understand in this book more about Haymitch, more about his family, his backstory, just what kind of, I guess, drove him in how he won his games, what he was like in the games. We get some new characters, which obviously it sucks because we fall in love with them through the book and then they obviously don't make it through because they all go to the Hunger Games, and it's devastating but enjoyable at the same time. I gave this book a 3.75 out of 5 because it just did not get up to that 4-star mark for me. And I know that devastates some people. Some people really love this book and this series. And I love the Hunger Games series as well. I loved it growing up. I've loved watching the movies. I loved when I loved when the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, which was the first prequel. But this just didn't quite hit the mark for me. And there is one main reason as to why, and that is because I felt when I was reading it like the writing was kind of lazy. And I'm not sure if it was supposed to be lazy because it was being told from the point of view of a 16-year-old boy, or whether or not it's because the author was just assuming that she had a particular audience and they had a particular knowledge already because of her other books, and therefore she didn't need to make as much effort when describing the world, when setting up the world, when, progressing the plot. Like sometimes it just felt really rushed and it focused very heavily on Haymitch's, I guess, I want to say internalization of things, but even then it wasn't. Sometimes I just kind of felt like we were going through the motions and it just didn't hit the same as some of her other books did. I really enjoyed the story. I have been told I didn't fully get the story. I think I need to read it in succession with everything else to really hopefully feel the gravity of it. I didn't fall in love with one of the characters that a lot of people did fall in love with, and I didn't have such strong feelings to plot points that happen with this character. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but there was a character that a lot of people have enjoyed that I have not enjoyed. I thought they were annoying and I did not care for them at all. What can I say? I am looking forward to the movie though. I think the movie will be quite good. I really liked the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes books, and I really liked the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie, so hopefully this is good. But it just didn't hit for me. And I think that's also one of the reasons I didn't read too much. I started this in April and that was all I read for April. I read it in one day, and then I was disappointed and I didn't read anymore. But if you love the Hunger Games and you really want to know all about Haymitch's story and how his games went and the details about that, I would recommend reading it. You might not enjoy it as much as the other books. It's definitely my least favorite book in the whole series, but it was not the worst book I've ever read, and I think that is good. The next book that I read it in May, and I picked it up when I was at Kmart because I was traveling to Wales. I went to Wales for a couple of weeks for my cousin's wedding and like a family holiday in May, and I really wanted a book that I thought I could smash out on the plane, something quick, something easy, something like a rom-com, which I tend to devour. So I got Swept Away by Beth O'Leary. The name of the book is Swept Away. I guess I did get a bit swept away, and I didn't end up reading it on the plane. I ended up not being very well on the plane, and didn't read anything. I just tried my best to sleep and got up into a bit of a ball. But when I was in Wales, I did read this book and I kind of devoured it, and it is different. I don't know if I just haven't read a book like it before, or if it's an original concept. Someone can tell me. But Swept Away follows the story of a girl called Lexi, who is kind of looking for a no strings attached fun. She's come back to her little hometown that she has lived in, and she comes across a young fellow named Zeke who is not really looking for a no strings attached thing, because that's all he's kind of done his whole life. But he finds Lexi pretty attractive, and they decide to have a bit of a passionate one night stand together on his houseboat. For those of you who don't know what a houseboat is, it is a small, long boat, like a riverboat, I guess. They're very popular in the UK, and so they go to the houseboat, and they wake up in the morning and realize that their houseboat that they stayed on, they actually haven't tied it up properly at night, and they have been swept out into the North Sea. The North Sea. I don't know if anyone's on TikTok, or specifically North Sea Talk. That shit is crazy. Crazy. And these people got swept out to the North Sea on their houseboat. And it basically just follows their story of how they survive on their houseboat at sea with no ability to bring the boat back, because naturally it did have an engine, but something's happened to it, and if Zeke was supposed to get it fixed, but he didn't. And it's there's a lot of stuff that keeps happening as they're out at sea that means they can't come back, and they are forced together, strangers who, well, then I guess biblically they're not strangers, but they are strangers nonetheless. And so it is their story, and it is quite funny and also a bit terrifying if you try and think about what you would do in that situation. I'd die. I get motion sickness. I don't like the ocean. The ocean alone scares me, let alone what lives in it. I don't like strangers. I don't like the cold, to which it is quite cold because you're in the middle of the sea. It's just, I think I'd perish. I think I'd drown. But, also they smell. They get a smell because it goes for a few days. They can be stinky. But it is a rom-com, so there is comedy to it. There is obviously romance to it. It's quite cute, the little connection that they build. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I couldn't put it down. I read it every waking moment that I had on my trip where I got to sit down and read. I read this. I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for like a little travel book or just a little rom-com to get you through. It's very cute. Okay, so the next book that I read in May was Asking for Trouble by Elizabeth Young. I'm sorry if that rain is intense. I can hear it quite loud because I have colourblind roofs, but I don't know if you guys can hear it. Anyway, we push on. And if you don't know of this book, I'm not surprised. It is not as popular as some other like rom-com books of its time being the early 2000s. Late 90s, late 1990s, early 2000s. But the rom-com film The Wedding Date, starring Deborah Messing, and I think his name is Dermot Mahoney. Dermot Mahoney? A man, Deborah Messing and a man. The film was loosely based on the novel. So the film follows a woman called Kat who is attending her sister's wedding in the UK, and she doesn't want to go without a date because she's left her fiance her fiance of 2 years left her. She's sad, alone. She hires a male escort, right, to pretend to be her boyfriend, takes him to the wedding. They fall in love, obviously, as they do. They become a real couple. It's a whole thing. It's not a bad rom-com. I made my friends watch it a couple months ago. I don't think they enjoyed it as much as I did, but that's fine. So I decided to get the book that the film was based on, Asking for Trouble. And I read that on my trip as well. And I really just wanted to see what the difference would be between the book and the film. And it turns out there was a lot of differences between the book and the film. Number one, the film, Deborah Messing is American, right? Dermot Mahoney, I think that's his name. Dermot Mahoney is American. They're American characters who go to the UK. In the book, the characters they're just British. Their names are not Kat and whatever the man's name was in the movie. Their names are Sophie and Dominic. And the premise of the book is that Sophie is single. She is like perpetually single, can't keep a man to save her life, is a bit obsessed with men in general. Like she will fixate on one and kind of fantasize about it. And her mother really wants her to be with someone and happily married with kids and everything. So every time her mum calls, Sophie just decides that she's going to make up a boyfriend just to please her mum. And she's like, oh yeah, my boyfriend, Dominic. And so she will, she lies and says she has a boyfriend named Dominic. And when her sister gets married, her mum is really excited to meet Dominic. Now, Sophie's in trouble because obviously Dominic doesn't exist. So she does what Kat does in the film and she hires a male escort to play Dominic. Except in the book, what happens is the actual guy who is the male escort falls down the stairs or something, and some other guy has to come in his place. And she's like, this isn't what I prepared for, but this will be fine. It turns out that they have like a kind of, not enemies chemistry, but like a kind of, I don't know, like not aggressive. I don't know, it's like a teasing kind of mean banter between them, I guess. She kind of can't stand him a little bit, but he's quite attractive, so that's their dynamic, is like he's a bit standoffish but attractive, she's a bit standoffish but they have to pretend to be together. And they convince everyone that they are a couple. The sister's wedding ends, they move on. Now the film, The Wedding Date, centers around the lead up to the wedding, and the wedding being like the end, kind of like the catalyst at which our plot will, erupt at. The big point. What's that term? Come on, English lit major. Climax! The climax of the book. The climax of the plot. Climax. Stop saying climax. Whereas in the book, it's not like that at all. The wedding takes place over a day in the first 70 pages of the book. And then it's done. And I'm like, what? and the couple keeps like, you know, bumping into each other, the Dominic and Sophie, not real Dominic obviously. They keep on, you know, seeing each other at different events, and turns out they have mutual friends. It's like a whole thing. It's very Bridget Jones' Diary in how it comes across. I think it's just the character is very Bridget Jones. I think Bridget Jones came first, but this is very Bridget Jones in the sense she's like a white 30-year-old woman in the UK who is perpetually single and does not want to be. Yeah, I gave it a 3 stars overall. It wasn't fabulous, but it was okay. It was okay. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. It's definitely a product of its time, though. There was some problematic stuff that it kind of brought up, and some of the language used was a bit problematic. Wouldn't fly today. But overall, I didn't mind it too much, so I gave it a 3 stars. Because I got through it. I didn't have to force myself to get through it either. I did get through it. So if you've ever watched the movie The Wedding Date and you wondered what book it was based on, then it comes up in the credits, you know, based on novel, blah. Asking for Trouble by Elizabeth Young. Get it on your Kobo. The second to last book that I read for quarter 2 was really depressing. It is called The Boy in the Cellar by Stephen Smith. By Stephen Smith. The Boy in the Cellar by Stephen Smith. My one of my uncles in the UK gave this book to me when I was over there. He kind of told me a bit about what it was about. It's a true story, so it's this guy's autobiography, I guess, his memoir. And he let me bring it home and read it, and I did enjoy it. It was a very compelling story. It's quite horrific, the events that happened to this boy. So if you don't want to hear them, maybe skip ahead like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, skip ahead. But it follows the story of Stephen Smith, who is a young boy who is lives in the UK and was born out of wedlock in the 1960s. And because his parents are obviously freaks, they decide having a child out of wedlock is awful. And instead of just not, you know, copulating, they locked their child in a cellar. And he grew up in the cellar. His only friends were spiders, which fucking devastating and disgusting. But yeah, his only friends were spiders. He didn't have any interaction apart from when his dad would come down to like give him food. It was like horrible. That was his existence up until I think he was about 12 years old. He lived in the cellar, and he discovered that he actually had siblings who were born in wedlock and were allowed to live upstairs, and he wasn't allowed. And it's so sad. So it's kind of his story about how he then got out of that situation and unfortunately was moved into a kind of institute halfway home for boys, was abused there. But then he was moved to a all boys Catholic school. That didn't go well either. So his whole life was kind of, up until he was about 18, 19 years old when he could leave the school, was just filled with horrific abuse. It's a really like a systemic and like, I guess like systemic, yeah, failure. The system really failed him. Like he told the police what was happening and they kind of said, look, you're at a school for delinquent boys. No one's going to believe you. We've had multiple reports, but you know, at the end of the day, you're not going to be believed. Sorry, we can't help you. So it's really sad. It was like his story. It does have a nice ending. Like he does go on to have a wife and children, and he has like a band, and he is living a very good life now. But it was a really sad story. Like it was so sad. Yeah. So I read that. And I gave it a 4 stars. I think I had to put it down a few times and really just, I read this in conjunction with Asking for Trouble. Thank God, because one was much lighter than the other. So I did have to put this book down and kind of come back to it every now and then. But I really enjoyed it. I do enjoy like true crime stuff, memoirs. I don't enjoy reading horrific things about people, but I do like reading those, I guess, just different experiences that humans can go through. And this is one of them. But he came out on the other side, you know, so that was really good. Stephen Smith story, The Boy in the Cellar, if you're interested. The last book that I read for the year, no, it's not the year. I've got another half to go. The last book I read in Q2 in June was a cute little graphic novel that I got when I went to Wales. I forced my family to drive 2.5 hours south of where we were staying to a little town called Hay-on-Wye, which is very popular among the book people because it is a town that has about 30 different bookshops. They host a literary festival there every year. I was 3 days short of the festival, but that was okay. So we went to Hay-on-Wye and we spent the day there and we went shopping for books. And one of the books that I picked up from a little shop called Gay-on-Wye, which is a LGBTQ plus friendly shop. It has LGBTQ authors or stories, you know, everything like that. It's very inclusive. I got a little book called A Quick and Easy Guide to Queer and Trans Identities. And it is so cute. I just have to show you the little artwork. It follows like a little snail is our little guide through this story. It's very, very cute. And it just kind of takes you through, like it says, a little guide, like what is gender identity and what is gender expression? What is sexuality? What is dysphoria? And it touches on like asexuality, like coming out, friendships, like how to navigate, I guess, the world around us, but how to do it in like a really inclusive way. People might say it's like a woke book, but I don't give a shit. It is cute as hell. The little snail tells our story. He's basically telling all of his snail friends about how the human world works and, you know, what life is like for these humans. And it's just a really nice thing to read, you know. Even if it doesn't apply to you, you know, it's a little bit of education. It's a little piece of education on how you can probably make someone's life around you just a little bit easier by, you know, being inclusive. Your queer friends, your trans friends, you know, any friend or family member that you might have, or even just someone in your life, like at work or that you come across, you know, every now and then. It's just a little guide on how to maybe navigate certain topics with people and how to just be genuinely nice and inclusive. Very cute book. I really liked it. I'm going to recommend it to my friends to read. And that was one of the many books that I got in Hay-on-Wye, which I might have to do a video on the books I got in Hay-on-Wye. But that's the last book that I've read so far. I have several on the go. I gave it a 4.5. I gave it a 4.5 because I just thought it was really well researched and it's so cute. Like, the little artwork and everything, adorable, absolutely adorable. I gave it a 4.5. So I think that was actually the highest rated book that I had for the quarter. It was good. So I have also realized that I did listen to an audiobook that I didn't include. I didn't include it because I read the book, the physical book, last quarter, and that is Fourth Wing. I don't know if anyone remembers my Fourth Wing rant about a particular shadow daddy. What a man. What a man in the... What a man. But I listened to the audiobook of Fourth Wing, but specifically I listened to the graphic audio version. So Graphic Audio is a company that does audiobooks, but they do them with a full cast. So instead of just having someone narrate or having, like, you know, the female characters done by one artist, the male characters done by the other, every single character has their own voice actor. They have a score, they have like sound foley, they have a score and sound foley. It's basically a movie in your mind is what it is, a movie in your head as you're listening to it. And so I have listened to Fourth Wing the entire book through graphic audio. It is wonderful. And now I'm up to the second book, Iron Flame, in graphic audio. And they have released Onyx Storm, so the third one, in graphic audio as well. But I'm waiting for that one to come to Spotify. And I only have 10 hours a month on my Spotify. I think 10 hours or 15 hours a month on my Spotify audiobook. So I have to pace myself. But that was another one that I did. So I have been doing some repeat reading of books that I have already read. I've been listening to them. I give that graphic audio a five star. The cast are so good. Actually, I take it back. I give it a 4.5, and the 0.5 is because they did not do the pronunciations correctly. They didn't do the pronunciations. They did them the way that Rebecca Yarros pronounced things, which is incorrect. I could go on for days about the correct pronunciation of different cultures, but they failed. They did an American version and it's crap. But apart from that, it's fantastic. So 4.5 for graphic audio, Fourth Wing, the Empyrean series. So that is it for another quarter. We are halfway through the year. Time is going very, very fast. I'm not happy with it, but I have many, many, many more books to read that are on my list. I think I've got about 4 on the go at the moment that I'm really hoping to smash out either this month or next month. So keep safe, keep happy, and I will see you in July, August, September. I will see you in October for quarter 3. Bye.